Why do constant notifications feel so mentally draining? If you have ever looked at your phone, seen a tiny alert, and felt your focus disappear and your attention scrambled, you are not alone. That frustration is real when it's like the interruption often feels bigger than the message itself. In today's video, I'll explain why notifications keep your brain in a state of waiting, why that state is exhausting, and how to reduce the cost without becoming unreachable. We'll explore insights gathered from research on interruption, attention residue, and the cognitive cost of smartphone use. If you're like most people, your phone already feels like a natural extension of your body, and for most of the day, it asks us for attention. There's either a buzz, a ping, or a vibration. You could be in the middle of the workday or a meal, or you could even be finally trying to rest after a long day, and yet the notifications keep coming. And even if you're not the type to check your phone right away, your mind often reminds you that you'll have notifications waiting. You start to wonder, was that alert important? Should I look? What if it's urgent? Let me just check quickly. So you check your phone again. Or maybe you do not even check, but a part of you still does not fully relax. When notifications start coming in, your brain stops feeling like it is truly off duty. It's like it's still on call. This formless sense of dread or tension, this is the hidden cost of constant notifications. The thing is, it's not just about losing time when you constantly are on your phone. It's also the impact on your mental state and how you're training it to always be ready for the next interruption. Imagine feeling this way for most of the day, throughout most of your responsibilities where you need to show up and be present. At work, at home with family, in conversations with friends, even at night, when all you want is peace and quiet and time to recuperate. So why do notifications have that effect? To understand this, it helps to think of your brain as a system that is always managing attention. Your attention is not just about what you are focused on right now. It is also about what your brain is prepared to notice next. Notifications are powerful because they can train your attention to stay in a state of expectation, where it's vulnerable to interruption. A new message that came in might matter. An unexpected call might be important. A reminder might be urgent. And because you do not know which of these things will actually be important, your brain stays slightly alert to all of them. That waiting state can be mentally draining. Research found that receiving a phone notification can reduce attention and performance, even when you are not actively interacting with the device. In other words, the interruption has a cost before you even respond to it. That matters because your brain is not just losing time, but also momentum. In other words, every alert creates a shift in your mental state, going from focused to checking to reorienting to returning. And the return is often slower than people expect. That is where attention residue comes in. Research on attention residue showed that when people switch between tasks, part of their attention often stays stuck on the previous task. So even after the interruption ends, your mind may still be partly on the thing that came before. Notifications can create a similar interruption problem. You are working on one thing, but your mind is partly waiting for another. That means that even if you do not respond, your attention is no longer fully settled. If that happens repeatedly, the brain can start to feel fragmented. It is much more complex than just being distracted. Your brain is actually engaged in near constant, partial vigilance. There's also another layer here, the mere presence of your phone. Research on smartphone usage found that even having your smartphone nearby can reduce available cognitive capacity. Some studies suggest that a nearby smartphone can consume attention or reduce performance, although findings remain mixed across different tasks. so the device does not always need to ring loudly to affect you. Sometimes the possibility of interruption is enough. That is why constant notifications can weigh heavily on your day. They do not only interrupt your time, they interrupt your nervous system's sense of closure. It's very much like your brain keeps a piece of itself available, just in case. The thing is that constant availability has consequences. It can make deep work feel harder, make simple tasks feel more tiring than they should, and make relaxation harder to achieve. You may even notice that after a day of constant alerts, you feel mentally scattered without having done anything especially difficult. That is because your brain has been doing a different kind of work all day, waiting for the next ping, waiting for the next alert, waiting for the next interruption. And that waiting state is not neutral, because it keeps part of your mind from fully settling. Over time, frequent interruption and habitual checking can make sustained attention harder to maintain. Think of it this way: frequent switching can make interruption feel more automatic over time. The more often you check, the more checking can become habitual. And the more your brain learns to wait, the harder it can become to sink into uninterrupted focus. In other words, the issue does not just lie in the notification itself, but the constant preparation for the possibility of one. To be clear, you are not trying to become unavailable, but it is important to give your brain some room where it does not have to be in a state of expectation. Here are a few practical ways to do that. The most direct way to address this is to reduce non-essential alerts. A lot of notifications are not truly urgent, so keep only the ones that actually need instant attention. Everything else can wait for a check-in window. That small change reduces the number of times your brain has to reorient itself. Another helpful change is to create notification-free blocks. Set parts of the day where your phone is silent, out of sight, or in another room. Even 25 or 30 minutes without interruption can help your brain settle into one mode instead of staying half listening for the next ping. Another solution is to reduce the visual clutter in your phone. That means badges, pop-ups, and lock screen previews. These tiny cues are explicitly designed to grab your attention, so if you keep seeing them every time you glance at your phone, you're only keeping your brain on standby. If everything looks urgent, everything feels urgent. Next, shift to batch checking. Instead of checking throughout the day, choose a few intentional moments. It could be after a meeting or after lunch, or 15 minutes in the late afternoon or right before dinner. This way, you remain in control in deciding when your attention shifts instead of letting alerts decide for you. Here's another idea. Make some spaces notification-free by default. When you take walks, or a meal, or the first 30 minutes after waking up, or the last hour before bed, set up your days so you have blocks of time where you are absolutely free from having to check your notifications. In these moments, your brain benefits from fewer demands, not more. Finally, acknowledge that you are not being weak if notifications distract you. Your brain is built to respond to potential social and practical information, which means getting distracted by notifications is a normal response. They are designed to be distracting, after all. So the solution is not to shame yourself. Instead, be more mindful of protecting your focus, attention, and momentum. Just remember that there is no need to feel ashamed that this is happening. After all your brain is doing is staying alert for what might matter next. That in itself is not a bad thing. Now that you know that notifications are affecting your ability to feel truly relaxed, we can take on the task of minimizing the negative effects. The good news is that your attention can recover when you give it space. If you commit to fewer alerts, fewer checks, and set up more quiet, notification-free time blocks in your day, your brain will start to feel safe enough to rest. Just find those moments where nothing is being asked of you and give your mind the space to feel at ease. If this helped you understand your mind a little better, consider liking the video. It helps more people discover calm science. And if you enjoy calm, science-based explanations like this, subscribe for more. I'd also love to hear from you. What notifications pull your attention the most? And if you want to keep learning, check out the next video on your screen. Until then, give your mind a little quiet.